What does it mean to watch history unfold?
Ich würde ihn überwachen lassen.
The year is 1946, and Berlin is reeling from the effects of World War II. Berlin is a city of fragments. It is made up of broken walls, fractured lives, and damaged morality. In the film, The Murderers Are Among Us, the visual style becomes the viewer's thoughts and memories. The opening shots of rubble and ruins not only depict destruction, but also symbolize a city with little left to show, physically, emotionally, and morally. It is a direct reflection of how people were feeling at the time of the collapse of the Nazi regime. The viewer is confronted with what remains or lack thereof. Mertens, the main character, carries the guilt of the war within him, and Stout depicts his emotions through the way he uses shadows, doorway framing, and trenches of light cutting through darkness. His figure is often half-lit or obscured in some way, which is a metaphor for someone who cannot fully confront himself. When Suzanne, the female main character, returns to the apartment she lived in pre-occupation, she is stepping into the past both personally and nationally. Her more subtle resilience majorly contrasts with Merton's almost haunted withdrawal. What matters in this film is not simply who committed crimes, but who is willing to see them. Looking becomes a form of responsibility. Another key moment that shows the greater theme of guilt and conscience during this film was during the Christmas party. The room itself was filled with warmth, laughter, and music, but the main character, Merton, stands out by being swallowed by the shadows. While the former Nazis are laughing and celebrating, Mertens remembers the lives of those who had been lost. It shows how Nazi Germany was both divided morally and geographically. Stout blends his expressionist shadows with fragments of daily life to show how guilt and memory go hand in hand. This film suggests that witnessing history means accepting discomfort. It is not a passive experience. You cannot rebuild anything until you first learn how to see honestly.
In Wings of Desire, perspective shifts from sight to sound. The angels hover over Berlin, listening to its private feelings, small confessions, passing fears, forgotten memories. The floating camera and whispered monologues turn the city into a library of human experience. In one scene, the frame glides slowly over a library, capturing dozens of thoughts at once, with pieces of conversation and memory layered into a single shot. Berlin becomes a collection of stories instead of a single narrative. Wenders uses black and white cinematography to emphasize observation rather than participation. The angels watch, but they cannot touch. Through sound and movement, the film asks a thought-provoking question. What does it mean not to intervene? Being a witness can feel quiet, patient, and uncertain. Listening reveals that memory is not only what a person chooses to remember, but what it cannot forget.
The film, The Lives of Others, centers on surveillance as a tool for control in a society rooted in repression. In the opening scenes, the audience hears an audio recording of an intense Stasi-led interrogation. This early scene establishes sound as a tool for controlling and managing opposition in the GDR. The audience watches history unfold as Weisler listens and surveils German citizens. Weisler is a Stasi agent assigned to uphold socialism and surveil individuals suspected of being subversive to the GDR. At first, Weisler is depicted as stoic, cold, and emotionless. He's detached from his targets and focused only on his assignment. He listens to people he has never met and reports on their private, emotional, and intimate moments for political reasons. This film uses cinematography to emphasize symbolism. In the surveillance scenes, the apartment is framed as a stage, while Weisler remains offstage in the attic, watching from above. In this way, Weisler becomes a stand-in for an audience in a theater, physically removed yet psychologically and morally influenced by the show below. As Weisler becomes absorbed in the playwrights and actresses' lives, he evolves from a neutral listener, watching behind the scenes, to an active agent of moral change, switching from a strict Stasi agent to a supporter of the opposition and social progress. In this film, the audience mirrors Wiesel. We watch the story unfold, we become emotionally invested, and the film shapes our morals. Thus, the film challenges the audience's passive role, turning viewing into a moral action. Watching Germany shifts from observing history to understanding how power and surveillance influence national identity and individual responsibility. The film suggests that watching history isn't just about seeing it, but choosing how to respond to what you have seen.
Run Lola Run completely reshapes the way that we think about time and narrative. One of the first things that the film establishes is that the past is not fixed. It can loop, reset, and fracture into multiple possibilities. You really see this in the first timeline, especially in the stairwell scene, where Lola bumps into a man coming up the stairs. It seems like nothing, but it becomes a turning point that changes the entire chain of events later. The same goes for the woman with the baby stroller. A split second of contact alters her path entirely. And the film even shows these flashes of her future to prove how unstable the plot is. These tiny moments are what splinter the narrative into 3 different timelines, and each version feels like a new experiment in cause and effect. The film keeps reminding us that with one hesitation, one collision, or one delay can completely redirect where the story goes. The editing style reinforces the idea. You see it in the rapid cuts, the tight close-ups, and especially the split-screen sequence when Lola calls Manny from the phone booth. The camera creates this constant forward momentum, almost like it's running alongside her. The mise-en scene is simple and clean, but the motion and editing rhythm make it feel like urgent and chaotic. One of the clearest examples is that the overhead shot of Lola running through Berlin, which repeats in each timeline, but with slightly different timing and energy. It visually shows the same event can reappear but lead somewhere new. All of this connects to larger themes of German cinema after reunification. Instead of only looking back at division or trauma, filmmakers start imagining what else could have happened. There's a shift towards exploring possibility in alternate futures. Run Lola Run basically says that the witnessing does not just mean remembering the past, it also means imagining different versions of it. Memory becomes active, not restrictive. It becomes a set of routes we take depending on the choices we make. The final moments of film really highlight the idea. After all the chaos, all the loops, and the alternate outcomes, Lola ends up walking towards Manny with a kind of calm confidence. That final smile suggests that the future is open again. The story is not locked in. The film raises a bigger question. If one tiny moment can change everything, then what version of the story do we decide to follow? And what does that say about how we understand our past and the futures that we imagine for ourselves?
German cinema begins by bearing the devastation.
Then it starts to acknowledge the silenced voices.
It confronts the viewer.
Finally, ask how to change the story.